First thing, before we start, I have a question.
So,
Do you allow any weapons in your house?
I mean, I have
Because I
weapons.
brought my guns.
I was like, welcome to yet another episode of Running Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, your favorite host, your only host, Michael Ray. Welcome, everyone. I have two more special guests. I mean, every guest on here basically is a special guest. So I have my younger brother, Anthony. I have my dad back for his second go at this. There was a lot of fanfare. Everybody's asking him for back. Welcome back, Henry. But I'll let you guys take a second to introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Tony. His name's Anthony, but I call him Tony. You guys will hear me say that.
Yeah. What's cool about podcasts is this is the opportunity to actually explain some of the nomenclature, some of our nicknames. So, Anthony was my birth name, my name whole life. And I'm going to take this time to explain it because it's important to me. But the nickname Tony is actually pretty special in terms of my professional workplace and whatnot, because I lean into that nickname because it's more familiar. It's more, Tony at home, Tony with the family, Tony that's most comfortable. And Anthony felt like I was trying to be too professional or too academic. So, which is why I told everybody in my workplace, start calling me Tony. So my life got a little bit easier. But so that's my name. That's who I am.
Tony Villa, right?
Tony Anthony Villa.
Tony Anthony Villa, yeah. So tell us a little about your career, Tony, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, professional graphic designer, also brand development. Used to be a manager, but that's another story. So I work in the creative field, actively looking for more ways to push beyond that. But graphic designer, so what that means is things like this, logo designs.
He designed this logo. We're actually doing maybe a little rebranding or new design,
another refresh.
Yeah, refresh. Yeah, so he's actually working on that as we speak.
Graphic design is a familiar and unfamiliar subject for a lot of people, but it's everything that we visually communicate with. So something as simple as t-shirt designs, logos on hats, logos on t-shirts, videos we watch, titles, any and everything that has a word on it, a graphic designer put it in there. And hopefully they put it in there with intention and effort.
He's a graphic design shirt.
Yeah.
That's funny. Graphic t-shirt, say. But thank you for sharing, Tone. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that, throughout this episode. I'm sure we will actually. But Dad, you've been here. I'll let you take a second to reintroduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with yourself today and how you're feeling.
So, hello again, Henry, Enrique Villa, Kiki, and various other things. So real quick, I want to get back to Tony real quick. What are some of the other names that you went by?
Yes.
He changed his name a few times throughout our childhood.
Eventually, I'll talk to a therapist about that.
I thought it was going to be an identity.
He had an identity crisis when he was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It wasn't an identity crisis, but it was
definitely playing with my own identity. So I was Anthony Llanos.
Tommy.
I adopted Tommy. That was probably so I was Tommy in the first grade. So Tommy, the Green Ranger, RIP one time real quick.
Yeah.
But I adopted that name because Tony was just played out and Tommy was popping. So I think at that moment, once I got positive reactions that people like when I change my name, and I actually put my name on all my assignments, Tommy Villa. So then maybe throughout the rest of my years, I was like, let me just keep playing around with my name. So I started ordering CDs.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, my bad.
Magazines? Yeah. And magazines under different pseudonyms. So
I remember that you were getting a bunch of magazines, a bunch of different names.
Magazine was either Tony McQueen or Brian Earl Stillman from Fast and Furious.
I remember that.
I've had tons of nicknames.
Yeah,
and I'll have more.
We're gonna try to find I'm gonna leave. You'll finish this episode with another new nickname. We'll find one for you. But Dad, so I'll let you continue to introduce yourself.
I wanted to just I thought it's pretty cool that. He had all these names growing up. Anyway, so obviously their dad. I'm really glad to be here. I actually did not plan on participating today because I just brought Tony over here. Mm-hmm. But now I'm here. I feel comfortable. I actually saw an episode that Mike made yesterday that I found the first 5 minutes hilarious. It's just fun. You should watch it.
Yeah. He's talking about the
It was
episode
Bobby.
with Bobby and Hoser. Currently editing it, but it's gonna be a good one. It's really funny. It's very entertaining. Yeah,
Tell
it's
them about the parts you have to remove.
there's
Just kidding.
it's so funny that we were talked about some stuff that we agreed that we're gonna have to leave out of the edited version. So we have a cut version and an uncut version.
Right.
That's paid subscription for the uncut version.
It's a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I got to work the numbers with those guys. So no, but yeah, with that, I'm glad to have you back, Tone. I'm excited that you're here. This is something I think I talked with you, Tone, about doing for a long time now. So, and then for you to design this logo and work on the refresher logo, all that, I'm super stoked and excited about it. But let's get into the icebreaker. So Dad did this icebreaker last time. We're gonna do the same one, and we'll see if you can come up with the new guy, Dad. We basically gave us 2 guys last time. So the icebreaker basically is if a celebrity, think of your earliest childhood memory up until this moment now and everything in between. If a celebrity could play your life in a movie, who would that celebrity be? And then I'll let you go first, Tone. And then Dad, you come up with the new one. There are 2 from last time were Russell Crowe and Gerard Butler. So you can't reuse them. See if there's anybody else you have in mind. Go ahead, Tone. What you got?
Yeah. So this is pretty challenging because I watched a lot of movies. I love cinema, but I don't remember things in the moment. So you guys, I'm gonna lean on you guys for a little bit of help and describe a person. Maybe we could come to somebody real quick.
I got it.
But so
I got
for
one.
sure, it's a comedy. If anything, it's a tragic comedy.
Yeah,
I got a lot of fucked up shit happening, but at the expense of one person. However, we laugh through it. Like it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of humor.
I would.
So it's a comedy, not a dark comedy. It's a comedy. If I were to paint, some of the humor that I enjoyed, anything in the realm of the other guys, Pineapple Express. So Saul Silver, played by James Franco, great funny character. However,
You're talking about Pineapple Express,
yes, however,
James Franco.
I'm not a pothead.
Chris, let's get the Snickle Fritz.
that role wouldn't necessarily
not
work out.
James Franco, but that character James Franco played would
at least
be
that level of humor. Like that's the type of humor.
that's a good
So
one.
somebody funny,
Linger.
Somebody linger.
Linger. That's funny.
Yeah, so just any comedic person, somebody who's funny right now. And
Silent Bob, dude.
Silent Bob. Well, there's in terms of visual references.
You know what Silent Bob is?
Yeah, Silent Bob. The
James
director.
Momoa, Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Momoa.
You know who's I think though on a more serious level, John Wick, dude. Keanu Reeves, John Wick. Not Keanu Reeves,
He's
but
pretty
John
smooth,
Wick.
though.
Keanu Reeves. I can see that.
If I were to say there's a
Yeah.
visual resemblance, there's an
Yeah.
older actor. What's the name? The dad from Stranger Things? Sheriff Hopper. I don't remember.
Oh, I know Hopper. I don't know his name.
But
I can
just
see
in terms
that.
of physicality.
Oh,
yeah, I
He's a
can
big
see.
guy. He has a big beard.
Yeah.
I'm never going to shave my beard. So
Yeah.
let's lean into it.
That's funny.
It'd be dope. Like, this is the movie, right? Like, we know eventually that you're going to get to a point where the actor looks like me. So every single character from birth to now and to the predicted future that hasn't happened yet, the main character, Tony or Tommy, is going to have a beard. So, you're gonna
So
see-
like even a
you're
little
gonna see a
guy
baby with a
little
big
guy.
old beard,
Yeah,
and a
that's funny.
mustache and glasses. Yeah. So and then throughout his years of life living in Norwalk and La Puente,
That's funny.
West Covina and Azusa, going to school, is always gonna have a beard.
That's funny. How about you, Dad? Who's your take 2 this time?
Oh, mine's a
Thank you
simple one.
for sharing that, Toe.
Thank
By
you,
the way,
Tony. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
go ahead, Dad.
Interesting character. Well, me, it's kind of, I'm gonna simplify it. Being that I'm older now, I used to want to just be doing things all the time. I had to now a little bit slow down, relax. So I think I'm gonna go with Hank Hill this time.
Oh, Hank Hill,
Hank Hill, watch the life.
So it'd be the
Credits.
So who's Bobby now?
the cartoon version of you. That'd be pretty funny. That's actually a good one. I like that.
Who's Bobby
Change it up.
Hill? That's gonna stress you out though.
Just chill there with my soda and just watch.
Bobby. That's funny. Well, I thank both of you guys for sharing that. I really appreciate it. It was a good laugh. Really interesting
I have one
responses.
question before we go, Mike.
What's up?
So the last time I came, you asked me, what actor would play me in a movie? You asked Tony.
Yeah,
My question and Tony's question to you is, who will play you?
it's pretty easy. John Hamm.
Plot twist.
You know John Hamm
I'll give
is?
you a plot twist after this.
I know the name, but who's the guy?
John Hamm, you know he is?
Yeah.
You have your phone, you can pull up and show Dad. I don't have my phone. Or I don't know if you got
Actually,
it. I do, but put it back
Don
here.
Draper. Don Draper.
Yeah.
Mad Men.
Oh, I know.
It's I think physical similarity is more than anything. That's what I would do. Jon Hamm. He's a good looking guy. I'm a good looking guy.
Very good
I knew he. I knew he was
Mike
a
is
big
like,
guy.
we got 5 handsome guys I got to pick from.
Yeah. But Jon Hamm would be my answer. So yeah, we'll put the picture up right here, and you guys will see who it is. And you'll be like, you're gonna mistake him for me when I put it. No, that's like my answer. What I want to do is I want to transition here and just talk about a few things. I want to kind of just go back to like us, right? Just childhood a little bit. Obviously, Dad, you got to see us when we were kids. Tone, we were very close as brothers in our childhood. We do have an older brother. Everybody, he'll be on soon enough when he's ready to rock and roll. But you and I, we have 2 younger sisters too. They'll be on as well. But you and I, we're the closest in age. We basically shared a bedroom our whole lives for the most part. I've never had my own bedroom till this day. But I wanted to talk to you about childhood a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of I had an interesting conversation with Dad the other day. I'm going to see maybe if it's okay if I bring it up, but it was an earliest childhood memory. I always find it interesting to see what anybody could say. And then maybe Dad can kind of see like, maybe if he remembers it can connect it. Like, so what do you think your earliest childhood memory is?
So now that I'm actually thinking about it in the spot, it's interesting to me that this has always been my earliest memory because it kind of painted a picture of all the things that were going to stand out in the future that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And that's just playing. Like in terms of my job that I do nowadays, I hate when I don't get to play, which means to experiment and have fun and be creative. So my earliest memory as a kid was playing with my family, and we lived in some house, and we were playing marbles. We were on the side of the driveway in the dirt, and we were just flicking marbles back and forth. I don't know who won or how we did it, but I was with my brothers and maybe some neighbors.
I know where we used to play. We used to play in Norwalk. We lived on Corby. That's when we used to play a lot. That's when we got into marbles.
Yeah, it was just super fun. I feel like it might have been before that because I think
it was a dangerous game, dude.
I was like 2 or 3.
It was a dangerous game. Marbles back in the day, you could catch a beating if you beat the wrong person. Be your older brother. He'll remind you like he's older brother. Like you could beat your marbles, but you can't.
Fun fact, I was the little brother until 7th or 8th grade, so I got beat up a lot. I got picked on a lot.
Yeah. That's funny. How about you, Dad? What are some of the things that stand out to you from us as child? Like from us as kids, us two specifically, and then even like our brothers and sisters, if you want to talk about it. I think,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think, as humans, we all have our own identity. Everybody's different. The kids, as a parent, you'll see that if you have 3 kids, for example, every single one of them has a different personality. And what I remember most is Mike, because he was born as his thing was sports.
Yeah.
Sports, right? Tony on the other side was another, and he was the spur of the moment. He always on the go, having fun, doing something, whether it's climbing hallways like Spider-Man to the top, just doing things. But one of the things that I vividly remember Tony doing is 2 times. One of them, actually, I don't know what happened, but he beat up one of our neighbors' kids. Actually, the kid was older than Tony. His name was M.R. Michael Roberts.
Oh, I remember this.
And the kid came up to me, and he's 1 year older than Tony, and he came up to me crying, Henry, Tony hit me, and this and that, and I felt bad. So I acted like I yelled at Tony. And then when Michael Roberts left, I gave Tony, don't do it again. Second one is, second time was, man, Tony just listened. Whatever I asked Tony to do, he would do it at the drop of a dime. And whatever it was. Yeah. A quick example for one day, one of my cousins came over, and his son hit Melissa. She was a baby. My daughter. She was maybe 3. Hit her. I think he hit her in the nose. Anyway, she came in crying, and my cousin was just sitting there in the couch doing. He didn't do anything. He didn't get up and scold this kid, nothing. Yeah. So I went outside and I instructed Tony, wait till I go inside. When I go inside, I want you to get my cousin's son and punch him in the face. I walk inside, close the door, the screen door, and I kind of sat on my couch and I was looking outside. Tony walks up to my nephew and bam, busted his nose. and then I had to what happened? Since my cousin didn't do anything to his son for hitting my daughter, I didn't even get up because so then I didn't even scold Tony nothing. So later on, as I left, I said, "Give me high Tony." So, anyways, that's one of the early things that I remember from my kids is that, like I said, everybody has different personalities. Enrique always he kept to himself, but he was just watching. Enrique was like that part too. He was watching over Tony and Mikey all the time.
He was that 2.0. He wouldn't let us get away with anything. And he wouldn't let anybody beat us up, but only him. Yeah, and he could beat us up. Yeah, we're out of line.
He had a rule book like, I used to feel sorry for the guy. They could not break no rules.
The thing about Enrique is
a police officer.
You tell him and he believes in one thing, that's it for life.
Yeah, it's over. It's committed. It's a great quality. It's great.
So, three different people, three different kids. Yeah. Them all equally. And but that's what I remember.
Yeah. Much out, yeah. Yeah, and then obviously we have two younger sisters. Right. We'll have them on. I'm with you too. We'll talk about them another time as well. But
right now it's Tony time.
So that's Tony time, ladies and gentlemen. What are some of the? This is a topic I really want to talk to you guys about. Tony got to experience this a bit with me. I know you mentioned this, Dad. It's a topic of traveling. I've been fortunate and blessed to travel, see the world a bit. In the episode with Bobby Hosier, he actually mentioned something that he does, which I think is awesome. So I'm going to share with you guys, and you guys will see it later. But I want to ask you guys a little bit more too. Actually, let me ask you guys first about it. What is one place that you find interesting, maybe that I've been to, or that maybe you just find interesting that you would want to go and see? I'll let Tony go first. Go for it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just choose a place. More specifically, because I don't have a positive relationship with travel in that wanted to go to a lot of places, haven't been able to.
Yeah.
And then also I'll convince myself why I shouldn't go there, which is a greater problem.
Yeah. That's exactly why I brought it up to talk about that. Because I think I know the route to it, and I'll share it with you guys after. Yeah. But go ahead.
So rather than actually having a direct answer, because if I don't have an answer, I'm not going to give it.
Yeah.
But the things that interest me, places that would be cool if I were to rule them out for all the many reasons I can find. Italy for just to study some architecture. Japan for the culture. More culture or more architecture as well. I'm fascinated by China, just how vast it is. I think just a random field of a random.
They have like mock cities in China. Like they have a fake Paris. My bad, dropped something.
Yeah,
they have a fake Paris. They have it's almost like built identical to Paris.
A fake Paris sounds more appealing than real Paris because I've heard a lot of bad things.
Honestly, me too. And I have no desire to no offense, Paris, France. I have no desire to visit because of
so these places are just obscure, and I think knowing that the whole tourist trap isn't there would be more appealing to me, and it's just my own personal.
I personally think the ones you mentioned are awesome. The number one on my list right now, outside of some of the things that we have coming, is Japan. I've heard some amazing things, and it's got a lot to see. How about you, Dad? What are some of the places that first come to mind?
To be honest with you, you'll be surprised, but I have a long list of places I would like to go. For the reason that I love watching documentaries. Okay, I mean, I get fascinated by certain empires or just things from the past. Mm-hmm. In fact, my son Enrique has told me a couple of times, Dad, you should be a history teacher because you're a history buff. Yeah. Which I never consider myself, but I agree. I've had people ask me questions or I hear stuff and I know the answers to it. So anyway, that said, I guess some of these countries or places I would love to see would be China, for one thing. China is like the Great Wall. I didn't know that you could see the Great Wall from outer space. You could literally see that from outer space. So that's a vast country, like Tony said. Another thing that really is amazing to me is the castles, the old castles from back in the ages. Vladimir, what's that? Vlad the Impaler. Mm-hmm. His castle is still up there. Those kind of places that would be, I think, pretty. Yeah. Awesome to visit. Then you got the Amazon forest in South America. Yeah, people don't even realize that if they were to cut down an entire Amazon forest, I mean, the whole global oxygen it would suffer. The ecosystem.
Yeah.
So little things because I've watched certain programs and you get in depth and stuff. there's just a
Yeah.
lot of places that would be interesting. Of course, Rome, the
Yeah.
Colosseum. That's
There's
one of
Coliseum would be sick.
one
Yeah.
thought that I don't want to let escape.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned Enrique said you should be a history
Yeah.
teacher. A couple of months back, maybe sometime last year,
Mhm.
because it's never too late to pivot and have a new career. But I told Dad too. I was like, "Do you know what social sciences are?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you know what sociology is? Like, you should look into that because that's what wakes you up every day. And that's
Or
what
even-
interests you."
Even just pulling up a camera,
Mhm.
laptop, computer, etc., and just talking about the things that you read, learn, and uploading, posting on TikTok, YouTube, stuff like that. That's all it is. That's all people do. They learn about it, they talk about it, learn about it, talk about it over and over. And it's pretty easy to do. And I think that's something you'd be great at. You have a lot of knowledge. You learn a lot. And I mean, you hear from everybody. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to say thank you guys for sharing that with me. I think it's awesome. Just to share with Japan definitely is on my list. China, I do find interesting. It's not on the top of my list. I like to see. For me, I want to see like a little more tropical stuff. Like Thailand is definitely up there. I've heard a lot of good things. Bali, I heard it's pretty good living as well. It's very inexpensive to visit. Or Singapore. Which is the one? What city is it? Is it Singapore? Yeah, Singapore is the cleanest city in the world. You'll go to jail for litter.
Plants.
If you miss a trash can throwing shit away, you're going to you'll get arrested. You'll get popped.
They can you.
Yeah, they don't mess around. But you mentioned, I'm gonna go back to something you said, Tony. You said there was a root issue about maybe you don't have the best relationship with traveling. If you could, I think I know where you're going, and I wanted to share something with you. But if you could elaborate on that a bit, and then I'll go from there.
Well, the greater problem is I put a lot of mental blocks in actions.
Mm-hmm.
So very simple things, right? Because this is why I went to therapy several years back. And it's, I'll describe a situation and then we can elaborate from there. But so it's Friday night. I'm clocking out for work and I want to go to, you've been there, Worst Cookie in LA with the awesome freaking sausages. No plug, no sponsorship for them, by the way.
Yeah.
But just really good food. I love the environment. I don't drink beer, but I'll have a beer there occasionally. And fries are great. Food's awesome. But so it's 3:30. I get out early on Fridays, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's head down there. I got a car. I got gas. I got money. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? Traffic might be rough, or parking might be difficult, or what if they don't have the food I want, or what if it's too loud there, or what if I don't feel good, or what if I get a stomach ache? And so I'll have 10, 15 reasons not to go. And all of a sudden I'm just mad or upset or just bummed out that, my Friday is gone. My time out in the world just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that same situation in a longer frame, what happened with travel also. It's like, I want to go to this random ghost town that's a 4-hour drive from here because it's interesting to me. However, what if I break down, or what if it's not that fun, or all these what if scenarios.
Analysis paralysis at its finest.
If you notice the what ifs that run through my brain.
Yeah.
But it isn't just, it's easy right now to list them out, but as it's happening, it's constant in my head. So it's just nonstop.
So I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to continue to kind of elaborate. So you say what ifs, and I've told you this before. What if Jim Rohn, you guys probably know who he is, but he's a just well-known motivational speaker. He was Tony Robbins' mentor. So Jim Rohn, he basically says, he refers to the what if language as the language of the poor. And the reason why he refers to it, I'm not telling you you're poor, mind you. The reason why he explains it this way is, what if is basically you're banking on acing yourself out of any potential opportunity. So it's like, if you want to take a trip, it's like, well, what if this happens? Kind of like the things you mentioned, like what if they change my flight, it doesn't work out? What if I don't like it, or whatnot? And then the way he refers to it is like, the what if is the quickest route basically to a right or wrong decision is to be directional. It's a straight line. You got to get there, find out if it's the right or wrong decision. And the way that I interpret it or understand it is there's also the what if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Because basically, like, people, like, if you go into an investment, right, you want money, take a risk in business, you're like, man, what if it costs me this much money? But you got to understand, if you don't go into that investment or that risk, there's also what if it does work out and you miss out on opportunity, and what if it succeeds? So basically, no matter what, you're going to get a bill. He's basically saying, what if you don't do something, you could be, there's actually a parable, I can't remember it, but in reference to that. But I think the the most important thing for me that stands out, especially traveling and moving around, I really believe a root cause and root analysis is self-belief. It's we only live the life that we live as far as we believe we can, basically.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
are our limits.
basically we set our own limits. Yeah. So, and there's ways to treat that. There's ways to treat that to get better with it. I limited myself until like my late 20s for travel. I thought flying to Mexico was impossible, dude. Like I couldn't do it. You know, the past 5-6 years I've been freaking all over South America, Central America. I'm going to Europe in a couple months. It's like, so to me, it's just a game changer. And then really, it's like you said, action, doing it with what could start and how. The biggest thing that helps me and truly inspires me to travel, is when I go to these crazy places, these amazing places, like Costa Rica, for one, is one that stands out to me right now. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe people live here. This is paradise. And that's people's homes. I'm like, why the hell? Like, why can't that be my home? You know? And people are living on the ocean, the water for a fraction of the cost that I pay here in Ontario, California. And no knock to Ontario, because it's a pretty decent city. But like, it's just, just one of those things. So if there's one thing that I reason I brought it up to encourage you guys to take away is like, there's plenty of time still for you guys to travel. And it's more reasonable than you think.
Yep. And then what I want to add is so like pulling all the way back, I still have an active problem with having a bias towards action.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that I've had throughout the years put in place to help resolve some of that. So, and I just want to share this because it was very important and it worked. And it was just keeping track of all the things I ended up doing. So if there was a moment where I was like, man, I really shouldn't go eat, well, I added to the list, like, hey, I did. I actually went and it was fun. Or, man, maybe I should get a new gym membership. And then I actually do it. And then I'm over here running quick ass miles.
Yeah.
So I had throughout, spring, half of summer, I had a big old list of all the things that I ended up acting on doing. So then I actually had a physical, representation of all the things that I accomplished that I otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So just by having that, and this was almost 2 years ago, and I could still go back and look at that list and be like, damn, imagine all these things I passed up on. Because I didn't.
It's a lot. There's a lot that you miss out on by not taking that chance or that leap of faith, dude. Especially traveling is one of them. That. How about you, Dad? What are your thoughts on all this stuff we're saying?
I wanted to add a funny segment to this whole travel thing. So we're talking about China, talking about Hawaii, talking about Mexico, South America, all these countries, right? So if these places, we're dying to go there, right?
Yeah.
Why do the people that live there want to come to us, to the United States?
To the
they come in here by the thousands.
Yeah.
So how good is it over there? That's what I'm wondering.
So it is from like a financial standpoint, to make a better living. Like the U.S. economy is one of the best economies, strongest economies. Where California is like the third largest economy in the world. So it's so much opportunity to earn a good living and be wealthy, but it's kind of what you want, what you desire. If you can live like below the means that we live in, like the money we make, if you could live beneath that and be fine with it, you could basically live anywhere in the world. Yeah. The reason people come here is for that, but it's also for the help. There's a lot of free help. Migrants show up, and they have benefits. Like they're taken care of better than they are in their own countries. If they're not working, if they don't work here, they benefit from it. There's benefits that serve them in those ways as well. So those are some of the reasons why too. And it is true.
I think me, for example, or even speak for myself, but
yeah,
I think a lot of people, middle class people, we settle, and unfortunately, that's the part where if you settle for things, and I'm cool, and I think that me watching you guys, my kids, I'm learning, and I could strive for more, and just hearing the positive input that you guys give me, even just teaching, for example.
But I do want to transition on and talk about some new things. What's something, if you guys can pinpoint one particular thing that's going well in life for you guys right now, something good, something you're happy about, something you're excited about, what would that thing be? And whoever wants to take the realms, I'll let you guys go. You go, Dad? Go ahead, Dad.
Welcoming grandkids to this world.
Yeah.
You can't get no bigger than that.
Yeah.
As love, as life. Also being that this past year, I lost my mom, of course. It's a transition where it's life. It's one life ends, you get new life, and that to me has been the biggest thing that has impacted me. To see the little ones.
Yeah, you've been very, very happy about it. I've noticed a positive difference and a positive impact on it for you.
And there's more to come.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A little birdie told me.
Not for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got practice here right now. What about you, Tom? What's something going on good in your life? Dude, talk to us.
So this relates to what I was talking about earlier as well. But so just positive mindset, positive thinking, self belief as well. Because like many of us, life is not easy for me right now. If anything, things are only getting worse in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up some days, not every single day, but some days, and I'm like, damn, how am I still like smiling and okay with it, and understanding that, hey, I'm going to get where I want to be eventually. And I've always had this mindset of eventuality, like things will happen when they need to happen.
Yeah.
Definitely practice that with mechanics.
Yeah.
I'll be fighting with the car for 2-3 hours, and eventually I'm going to get that
Figure it
bolts
out,
off, and I'm going to solve the problem. But so just having a positive mindset, and then also stacking all these different, therapies in place has only made it easier for me to keep going. So I actually love and enjoy meditation. Who would have thought?
That's fun. Really when you find a good meditation thing that works, like there's a different version of meditation, right? The version that works best for you, it feels good.
Yeah, so just stacking all these things and just, understanding that I've had extremely low points, but I'm continuously pretty high right now, pretty positive.
That's good. I've noticed positive change in you, and you too, Dad. Both you guys of late, probably over like the last 6 months or so. Man, for you, what I want to do next year actually is thank you guys for sharing that. I want to do something cool, so I'm going to play a video on the TV behind me here, and
actually, while you cue that up, I just want to add. So there's this thing called counterfactual thinking, and that's what leads to regret, indecisiveness, etc. So it was a random,
that to us.
So randomly, I was hanging out with a friend, and we were like, "Man, there's got to be a word for this thing, right? Like where you do something and you regret it only after you know what happened. So, oh man, I shouldn't have taken that turn. Now I'm in traffic. Oh man, I shouldn't have went out because I got robbed or my car got broken into.
Yeah.
So that's actually counterfactual thinking, because guess what? You counter the facts that happened. So once I found that definition, I was like, man, I really don't like counterfactual thinking. So I always red flagged it. Whenever I said it or somebody said it, I'm like, that's counterfactual thinking. Like, just let it go. And it's always been an easier way for me to not to get caught up in the past and be like, well, let me just solve tomorrow's problems.
Yeah. A quick question before we get. What do you guys
think?
That's good stuff. What do you guys think? Basically, exactly what we're talking about with the what is and all that. Where does the word procrastination fit into any of the things that we're doing or not doing? What do you think?
What's the true definition of procrastination? Like I don't know the actual definition.
Putting things away, putting things off, right?
Yeah,
let's look up the.
I'm gonna do this. I'll do this later, right?
So I can't or I won't do it now because of.
I can do it later.
I have an answer to it. So there's a book that I read, The 4 Agreements, and one of it talked about 4 agreements you need to have with yourself. One of the main agreements you have is just to be impeccable with your word, basically follow through on your word. I think procrastination is not having a relationship with yourself to follow through on your word. Basically, if I say, hey, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go to the gym at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I don't do it, I'm not being impeccable with my word, and I'm letting myself slide. So I think procrastination basically just has a relationship, I guess, to discipline in a sense, being disciplined in that sense as well. And the more you follow, because I feel like you guys ever had that friend or a person, you're like, oh, this fool's not, like I invite somebody to come over, but he has a stigma like, oh, I don't know if he's going to make it or not because he always bails or flakes, but he says he's going to come. Right, because I have a couple friends like that. They'll say like, "I'll be there for sure," and I don't. and then it'll be the day of, and they're supposed to be at this time, and they're like, "Hey, I can't make it." They're not impeccable with their words, right? In those scenarios. So I think procrastination has a lot to do with the relationship that you have with yourself and the word that you give yourself at the end of the day. Because if you can't honor yourself and your word, what makes you think you can honor others' words? You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I view it. I mean, that's actually something I just thought of right now. I don't know if that's the right or wrong answer, but that's a good.
What the reason why I also said relationship, because I'm a perpetual procrastinator, right? That's one way to look at not being able to do things and finish projects, start and stop the millions of them. But procrastination is also related to the idea of laziness. And laziness.
I don't think it's laziness, procrastination.
Or just related to it.
It's related to, but I know where you're going. I'm just saying, though.
And
my bad.
We're taught in work culture that laziness is frowned upon, that you are dubbed a lazy person because you're not busy, you're not perpetually doing something.
Yeah.
So just by understanding from my perspective that, hey, greater forces are telling us we always have to be doing something. We always have to have something going on. And if you don't, you're unworthy of other people's opinions.
Yeah.
When I started thinking about it that way and learning more into the positives and negative sides of an idea of being lazy, of not being busy,
Yeah.
then that's when I put less attention and weight into the idea of procrastinating, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden some of the projects I've had built up
Mhm.
became less. There was less of a barrier in between starting them, so
Yeah.
I felt more confident because I wasn't guilting myself for being lazy. It's like, oh, there's other things happening, and it's
Yeah.
not necessarily that I'm putting them off.
Because even though what I just mentioned with procrastination, sometimes it's necessary to put things off. It's the right decision in that sense,
Yeah.
kind of like what you're saying. So yeah, no, I totally agree and understand.
Yeah,
So
and then I had plenty of time to. Well, I forgave myself for not working on this project and focused on other things like
Yeah.
improving my sleep, mental health.
I mean, yeah. There's one thing that I've learned. One thing that Alondra that I've learned through Alondra talk speaking on procrastination to actually assist with it, because it is as we trip for me. I used to never put to-do list together task, right? I would never write it down. I always try to remember everything, and it's impossible. Like, you can't remember everything. I mean, maybe some people can, but I know I can't. And I would forget to do a ton of stuff. So now I have a calendar, I have a to-do list, I do a weekly to-do list, and I'm doing more stuff. So it's kind of like the saying that people who don't write their goals down are basically statistically, people who write their goals down have like an 80% greater chance of accomplishing their goals versus someone who doesn't write them down, because it's a form of accountability, writing it down. So, but I think that's one thing that's helped me to assist me with my procrastination, because I'm a procrastinator with the best of them when I want to. But
Cool.
what I want to do is I want to play this video. It's a pretty cool video. I think we can relate to it in certain ways, and then talk about it a bit after. So Gabor Mate, you guys probably heard of him. It's pretty awesome, super legit. But I'm gonna play back here, and you guys could just listen to it. And during the podcast, I'll play it up there. Here he goes.
Addiction is the most human thing there is. And when you understand it, when you don't understand it, it looks like an aberration and an abnormality and some kind of a moral deviation. But when you understand it, it's a very human thing. So let's just define addiction as manifested in any behavior that a person finds temporary pleasure or relief in, and therefore craves and continues with it despite negative consequences. So the definition then involves pleasure, relief, craving in the short term, harm in the long term, inability to give it up despite the harm. Now, by that definition, of course, we're not just talking about drugs. We're talking about all manner of behaviors, from sex to pornography to gambling to eating to shopping to the internet to gaming to self-cutting to work, as probably as a physician, and to any number of other activities. And my contention is that all addictions, they're not primary problems, they're not inherited diseases, they're not aberrations, they're not moral failures, they're attempts to gain pain relief, emotional pain relief for something or another. And so the first question in addiction for me is not why the addiction, but why the pain. And so if we have to look at why the pain, we have to look at people's lives, their life experience, their traumas, their adversity, their suffering. And so
He said, we first hear the word addiction, it's like an aberration, which is true. It's associated with bad because people think of the first bad drugs. Number one thing, that's been brought up, pornography and other things. But then he mentioned other list of other things that
just normal things.
you don't think
is normal.
But you are shopping, for example, gaming,
work. People's addicted to work, and whatnot. So, and then what it is he said it. If the question he asked at the end is, not why the addiction, but why the pain. Like, what is the pain? And truth is like, I have a friend. I'll give him a perfect example. I have a really good friend who does very well for himself, and he really well. He does makes good money. And I know one of the motivating factors for it is because once he was doing well, he lost it all. And, so he knows what the taste is and the feel is to lose it all. So that's the pain. That's the pain point. So the reason why I brought this up and played this video is because we all, in a sense, have a relationship to addiction in different ways. And I thought it'd be a good topic to discuss and just something to share with you guys, because I do think it's a powerful message one thing that I do know as well, and I've learned from studying addiction in different ways, is you can never ever quit an addiction, quote unquote, quit an addiction, right? Once an addict, always an addict. But when you're trying to give up a certain addiction, you don't just go by your everyday life and just do everything to stop doing what you're doing. You need to replace it with something else, a healthier, replace it with not in essence another addiction, but another behavior. So if somebody who is an alcoholic or just like a negative one, like say somebody who's doing drugs, alcoholic or whatnot, they just can't, and say they're living their life a certain way while doing drugs and drinking alcohol. You can't live your life that exact same way and then just while you're doing drugs and just cut it off, because those behaviors are already related to what you're already doing, you have in place. The only way to not do it anymore is to make a change in your life and replace those behaviors that are related to the quote unquote addiction. So I think it's important to share because I've had a personal experience with it in different ways. And it was the biggest difference for me is when I noticed a change in my life and what, my addiction was when I replaced it and changed behaviors. So that's basically like for me personally. And then understanding that, like what Gabor May says, it's not on the surface. It's, the real question is why the pain? Why was I doing it? And understanding a little more. Yeah. But what are your thoughts, Tom?
Well, addiction, it's a large subject because it does include drugs and drug abuse, which has
the most common,
a myriad of problems, positive, negatives. But so like when I hear addiction, I also hear safety, right? It's whatever we're doing, whatever we're engaged with is familiar. And so there's an ease of access, there's an ease of usage. There are less consequences over time, potentially, which is why it becomes a resultant pattern. But so removing that safety, removing that comfortability and that ease, is a challenge. And it's not just like you just mentioned, it's not just the thing that we're doing, the process, the addiction. That's in the actual encompassing life that we have around us as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not just quitting, smoking cigarettes, for example. It's quitting going outside at 8 p.m. at night.
When you would smoke cigarettes,
going to this specific liquor store that gives you a good deal. Quitting, food and the addiction as well.
Yeah, because in essence, those are triggers, and one of the hardest things that I think I've seen, like or known, is when it's related, when it's with a friend or family, like you're around certain people, individuals, and like they're the trigger. It's not that. Because you care most of the time when you're with the person, you care about that friend, that relationship, and whatnot. You don't want to damper on it, but sometimes you got to make. Sometimes not being around a certain person for a certain period of time is what it takes, and stuff like that. So it's for anyone out there battling, pushing themselves through any addiction or whatnot. You can beat it, you can do it, you got it. But it is just understanding your relationship to your addiction, the behaviors that go with it, why the pain, and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, my favorite coping mechanism for that also, for many of my personal problems, is just accountability in terms of just sharing it with as many people as I can, as casually as possible.
Yeah.
Because when I say things and it sounds, and I downplay it, that's what it feels like at times. What I'm doing is I'm hoping to invite other people into my struggle, so then they're comfortable bringing it up.
Yeah.
And they're not like, I got to dance around this subject. Like, can we invite Tony here? Should we do that?
Yeah.
And more, it's like, hey, no, we're not going to ask you because you don't drink beer. You don't like feeling, different. So we're just not going to tell you. And then because I've told everybody and I've reminded them that like it's not for me. It's even when I'm offered, they already anticipate a no. So it feels great knowing that I don't have to dance around.
Feel like no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about?
Just that's something last to that. I guess that would be advice. I didn't, it's the first time doing this type of thing, a podcast where we don't know how many number of people are going to actually see it, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there and here's this message, it's simple, and I'm pretty sure that you heard of it. It's say alcohol is a gateway to heavier drugs, and
agree.
Anybody that's drinking right now, just casually drinking, watch yourself, because you know what. Casual drinking brings to more drinking, to heavy drinking, and unfortunately, too many times in my own lives and experience of stuff where it is a gateway to crazier things, because your mind, you get used to one thing, you want to try something else. So if anybody, if I could reach one person out there, that would be cool.
Yeah. So there's just to touch on that, and I think it's something to say is the so for one, if you could drink and you hold it down, do your thing, be responsible. That's all it is. It's the thing is, I think what it was because I had a therapist, we had a conversation about drinking and whatnot. Basically, it's when you start to use it to cope with something not going well in your life. So they call it, if you're in pain and you're drinking into alcohol to mask that pain, that's called a negative coping skill. Basically, you want to find yourself a positive coping skill to help deal with whatever you're struggling with. Gym, working out, talking about it, coming on this podcast, chopping it up, whatever, that's kind of what it is. So just be very careful. But if you're having a good time and you're elevating a social environment and you can have some drinks, by all means, have a good time, have a blast. Well, I'm gonna close this out, guys. I want to thank you, Dad. Thank you, Tony, for making the time today to come through. I really appreciate it. It's exactly what I wanted, in the podcast, spend more time with my family, get to reconnect with my brother, my dad, spend more time together and, revisit and watch this whenever I want. So I appreciate you guys coming through. Thank you so much. So for everybody who tunes in, please continue to like, subscribe, share the video, comment on whatever, you think you might, want to talk about next. Also, for anybody who want to come on, and I know a lot of families going to see this, friends are going to see this, reach out to me, give me a call. Even new people, if I don't know you, you want to connect, I'm in Southern California, send a message or we'll figure something out. But I'm Michael Ray. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you guys next time.